Welcome back on Real Talk with Mrs. Pham. So let's break this down properly. What are red flags? A red flag is not just a word or trend. It is a warning sign in behavior or patterns that something is not emotionally healthy. And yes, it should be taken seriously. So let's go through some examples. Inconsistency. For example, someone says, I will call you every night and I will always be there. But in reality, they only show up when it suits them. Some days they are fully present and other days they disappear and cancel plans or just become distant. And you are always left confused, guessing where do you stand. That confusion is a red flag. Another one is disrespect. When you disrespect people and you say, oh, it's a joke. For example, your partner keeps saying, I'm just joking, or you're too sensitive. When they make remarks that make you feel, not too good. A remark that may make you not feel good may be something like, oh, you are so fat, or you're so thin, or your face looks ugly. Look at your skin. Look at the way you smell. Look at the way you walk. Look at the way you are. Things like that. They say, oh, I'm just joking. Or you're too sensitive. Or, how else can I play with you? But the jokes are about your body. It's about your intelligence. It's about your dreams. It's about your personality. And every time you express hurt, they laugh it off like it is nothing. But deep inside you feel disrespected and you feel small. Another thing is lack of accountability. For example, they hurt you or, they do something wrong. But instead of saying sorry, they say, you made me do it. Or they could say, if you didn't behave that way, I wouldn't have reacted that way. That is simply lack of accountability. There is emotional unavailability. For example, you try to talk about the way you feel, you try to talk about things that are not just right with you, your emotions, or you want to talk about your future, you want to say something about work, you want to say something about, what's happened, where you went to, the event, maybe about your friend, about your family. But every time they shut you down and avoid this kind of conversations or say, I don't like, talking about emotions. And then again, you feel you're alone, even though you're in a relationship. That is emotional unavailability. All right. I am going to open the lines and we're going to read some text messages. So this is the time for you to call in, send a text or leave a voice note. And I want honesty today. I honestly want you to be honest. So did you ignore the red flags in your relationship? What did you see and what did you ignore? Okay, I'm going to read some of our text messages. So this is from, there is actually no name, but I'm going to go ahead and read. So good afternoon. I like your program. Concerning the topic of today, I have decided that I'm going to join in. Thank you. So yes, I saw the red flags. I overlooked it. To me, believing that there is room for change. Why? Why is not the question. Why is just maybe the person prefers to be called why, addressed as why. Okay, so let's just go back to that. I overlooked it, believing that there is room for change. So is there room for change? There's always room for changes. So I don't know exactly the red flags that you saw. Maybe if you elaborated a bit more on that, I would have known how to maybe advise, or other people will be able to know how to comment on that. So maybe give us a little bit about the red flags that you saw. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Good day, Mrs. Pham. Just one second. Oh yeah, so this is Zainab from Ilorin, Nigeria. Mine was in 2022. It was too controlling, but I mistook it for care, like checking where I am every time, who I'm with. I thought it meant he valued me. It didn't take long before it became suffocating. That's when I knew I ignored something serious. Thanks, Zainab, for sharing that. Amaka from Surulere, Lagos, Nigeria said, looking back now, the red flags were loud. He hardly communicated and would disappear for days, but I kept telling myself he's just busy. By mid 2023, I realized I was the only one putting in effort. I didn't ignore the signs because I didn't see them. I ignored them because I didn't want to start all over. Thanks, Amaka, for sharing that. Let's read some more messages. This is Daniel from Manchester. Thank you, Daniel, for contributing. I think most of us see the signs, but we negotiate them. We negotiate with them. For me, it was inconsistency. Hot today, cold tomorrow. I kept hoping it would stabilize. It didn't. Red flags don't fade with time. They get clearer. That is so true. Thanks, Daniel, for that. So, like a recap from this text message, we can see that I thought love would change some people, or I ignored everything because I didn't want to be alone. I kept forgiving disrespect, thinking it was love. Some said they saw the sign. So some people may see the sign but hope things would get better. Some would stay because they didn't want to start all over. So keep sending me voice notes and tell me your story. What red flag did you ignore and what did it cost you? So let's continue with the conversation. And thank you once again for sharing, like the messages that you've sent. Thanks. That takes a lot of courage to say that out loud. And don't forget that you're not alone in that experience. So let's take a moment to reflect. Ignoring the red flags is not always weakness. It is not always weakness. Sometimes it is love. I love them so much, or I love my husband so much. I love my partner so much, and I believe they will change. Sometimes it is hope. Maybe things will get better with time. It could be fear for other people. What if I start over and no one else comes? If you experience some of these things, I really want to hear from you. I really, really want to hear from you. Because sometimes for other people, it could be low worth. It could be low self-worth. This is where you think, maybe this is all I deserve. You deserve more than that. I can tell you that for a fact. But let me say this clearly as a social worker. Love without boundaries leads to emotional pain. Love without boundaries, it leads to emotional pain. And hope without action, I'm going to repeat that. Hope without action keeps you stuck. And fear should never make a relationship decisions for you. Fear should never make relationship decisions for you. So my advice is, what should we do? So I'm going to advise, listen to your gut feeling. Gut feeling is the inner warning sign. We all have it. That feeling is what you should use to set your boundaries early in the relationship. Don't ignore repeated patterns. Do not ignore repeated patterns. Speak to someone you trust. So someone you trust can be a friend, it can be a family, it can be a colleague at work, it can be a professional, somebody that you trust. It could be your parents. And protect your peace. This is very, very important. You have to learn how to protect your own peace. No one can do it for you but yourself. A healthy relationship should give you peace, respect, safety, emotional stability. When you have signs of somebody constantly checking your phone, for some people it means nothing, but to other people that is a red flag. Somebody who's calling you, who's just texted you. Who are you talking to? You spoke to this person before. Why are you talking to this? Why is this person calling you? When somebody tells you, don't wear that cloth, that I don't like that color, I don't want you to wear this, and I don't want you to dress like this, for some people it's fine, and most times they may mean no harm. It may be that, oh, this is just you trying to make sure that your partner or your wife looks, presentable, or maybe they dress right for, the occasion. But sometimes that could be very controlling. I mean, when you decide to tell an adult how to dress, not something that they want to do themselves, you are the one that they're going to take permission from before going out to a party. So there are so many signs that people should look out for, and then when you have to be told when to do things, this is how you're going to go to work, this is how you're going to come back, this is what you're going to say to your family, this is how you're going to, like even in your finances, you have no say. These are the friends that I want you to go out with, and then you keep checking, when are you coming back? You've stayed 1 hour there. How long does the party take? How long does it take to hang out with your friends? When are you coming back? You keep checking on each other. Some people go to the extent of I know CCTV, like putting cameras is for safety, but in some cases that's a red flag. You want to know who they are talking to, what they are saying, so many red flags. Some people, red flags for them could be that they have no say in the relationship. Whatever you discuss with them, they have to take it to either their friends, they have to take it to their family. I'm not saying that we should not, because it's not a sign of weakness when you ask people for advice or support. But when this is a norm, that everything that you discuss in your marriage or your relationship, the third party needs to know everything about it, I think for some people that could mean a red flag. We have a text message. I'm just going to read that and then we will continue. Good afternoon, Mrs. Pham. This is Isiaka from Lagos. Thank you, Isiaka from Lagos. It says, for me, my ex was always referencing her boss while we want to make important decisions about our lives. I would just ignore and think this boss must be important and experienced with marital issues until I visited her uninvited one evening and eavesdrop on them talking about me not being man enough, and she said and she should avoid me, and also that I take too much of her attention, that she doesn't have time for him anymore, and they can't enjoy their private time. That was the end. I'm just going to try and make proper sense of this message now. So you said, for me, my ex was always referencing her boss while we want to make important decisions. So yes, and I would just ignore and think this boss must be very important and experienced with marital issues. Yes, until I visited her uninvited one evening and eavesdrop on them talking about me not being man enough. So they were saying you weren't man enough and she should avoid you. And so your wife and your ex and your and her boss was saying that they should avoid you, and that you talk too much, or you take too much of her attention, and that she doesn't have time for him anymore, and they can't enjoy their private life. So I'm trying to put this together and think that you feel that your wife cannot hold, like what should be in your family is now being discussed with your wife boss, but because you think that his experience, you didn't find that as a problem, you kind of ignored it until I think it became too much for you to handle, and you said that was the end. So that was the end. I don't know what that means. Maybe that was it should be, because you said ex, so I should have figured that out. So that means you're not in a relationship with your ex. I'm sorry to hear about that. I don't know what kind of important decisions you meant. I don't want to pry more on that. I respect you, with what you've shared already, but yeah, these kind of things happen. But what I would have what I'm going to say is, like, this has happened now. Moving on, I would want you, when you get, I don't know if you are in another relationship or you want to go into another relationship, is to be clear in your communications from the beginning. Like, okay, my wife, I know we need support, we need advice, that we need information to move on in life, to get to wherever we're going to. We need support of other people, but can we discuss this between ourselves, what we need to share with other people? That way there will be boundaries, and she would know what to share with other people. So it may not get to the point where you would not feel comfortable, because you already know what she's going to discuss with other people, and it would not look, you will not have to go unannounced, because there is nothing that you may want to find out, because you already will trust her judgment. You will already trust what she would discuss with other people. So moving on, I think that would help a bit more communication in your relationship. Let's say if we have another message. So this is from Kemi Adeshola. Good evening, Mrs. Pham. Nice to know we are now on the same time zone. Yes, we are. Lagos men showed me shege. Oh. Right. You said my ex was always having ladies around, claiming they are his relatives, cousins, nieces, and more. You said he ignores my important discussions. He listens without contributions, but I wanted a man that can help straighten my view or give insightful opinion that can be productive, which he clearly couldn't do. That was a red flag for me. Also, he doesn't have a good relationship with his mother, so I just couldn't continue. Thanks for sharing that, Kemi. My ex always was having ladies around. So for you, this was a red flag for you. Keep having ladies around, claiming that they are his relatives and cousins and nieces, and he ignored your important discussions. He listened without contributions. So he's kind of absent in that relationship, and to some extent I would want to believe that you feel disrespected because he was ignoring your discussions. And I would not blame you that you want a man that can, straighten your view or give you insightful opinion. I can't fault you for that. Or somebody that should be more productive, which clearly you said, he didn't meet up to that task. And, good that you appreciated. I mean, you found that was a red flag for you. So, and I know from there, moving on, that was a big lesson for you. Hopefully you will get somebody that would not, show you shege. All right, thanks for sharing that, Kemi. No, this is from Olati, and Olati says, really loving the music breaks. Love emojis. Well done, Mrs. Pham. I think our parents to play a part sometimes. They trust the in-law and shove off their own child's feelings. You end up having no one listening to you, and it gets emotionally depressing. I agree with you. I think it's more of a cultural thing that we need to actually revisit, because most people say these red flags, but like you said, we respect our parents, and from that respect, we kind of want to do what they want us to do, because it's a form of disrespect when you come back to your parents' house, something goes wrong and then you end up coming back to your parents' house. You don't want that to happen to you, because number one, some parents will say, this doesn't happen in my family. Ilé ọkọ lobìnrin gbé. Àbí, when it's on the man's side, this doesn't have to be a woman now. It can be the man. Kí n kọ́yàwó nínú mọ̀lẹ́bí wa o. Ìwọ ló ríra yín tẹ́ fẹ́ra yín o. So all of these things play a major role in the relationship. And like you said, they trust the in-law and shove their own child's feelings. It's quite debatable. Sometimes a parent will be on the side of, like the husband on the wife, not because they want to hurt your own feelings, but some will argue it that it's because they are protecting you. They are protecting you so that you have a peaceful marriage. But in the process of protecting you, they don't understand what they're going through. Or maybe you've said, my wife comes back very, very late. We've had this discussion, or my wife just doesn't have any emotional attachment to this relationship, or she prefers to hang around other people except me, or we can't sit down as a family, or she just doesn't respect me, she just talks down on me in front of people, or she doesn't respect my opinion, or we can't, there are so many things that could make one depressed emotionally, especially when you don't have anyone to listen to you, especially when you see that your own family or your own parents are not really understanding how you're feeling, saying this is how it's done, or what's different now, this generation, you don't have patience, when you clearly can see that is not about patience. We have a caller. I am just going to pick this call and then we will continue with the conversation. Hello, caller. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Pham.
Good afternoon. How are you? What's your name and where are you calling from? Happy Sunday to you.
Yeah, happy Sunday to you too.
Thank you.
I'm calling from Lagos.
Thank you.
My name is Dari.
Nice to meet you, Dari. Do you want to contribute to this topic today, the red flags that we ignore in relationships?
Yes, I would like to, and I have a handful of them, but I'll just mention a few.
Thank you.
Okay, starting, I would say communication is really important. There are a lot of people communicate in their relationships, but when I mean communication, for me, I would not like to be like a special investigator in my own relationship. This is what I mean. For some women or ladies, they don't really open up and they don't say what their intentions are or what they have in mind. They want the men or the man to figure everything out, which is
impossible.
Really which is not possible. At least if someone opens up with their emotions or their feelings, it helps the man or the partner to understand, okay, this is what I shouldn't do to avoid conflict, or this is how to treat my wife or my partner better.
Yes.
But in most cases, men or any partner in a relationship have become special investigators to figure out what the problem is every time. And these things have heavy emotional flow on the partner side. So for me, I think that's a red flag if someone can't communicate their emotions clearly.
They want you to figure it out. If somebody is
Yes,
waiting
yes.
for you to figure it out, do you have like an example of that? Is that from, like, you mean communication, like, oh, what's going on in their lives, in their, at work, say for example you have children, or how they feel, how they want to be looked after. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yes, exactly. Say for work example, you ask your partner how was work today, and they
Today.
just say fine,
Oh, I see.
and they just respond fine.
And you
That
want
that
more.
means they are. Yes, because I wouldn't know if someone got on your nerve at work or someone made you excited. There should be things to discuss.
Yeah, right.
But if I now have to start asking, how about your boss? How is this your colleague? How is that one? It feels more like uh,
Yeah,
an
asking too much.
unprovoked. Yes, so, more like I'm privy into details I shouldn't know. But if it's open and we can
Natural.
talk about, yes,
I
that
mean,
that
I
would
mean, I
make
mean,
it
you're
flow.
exactly right. I think when people come back from work, we should look forward to, you know, having a proper gist. How did yours go? What happened in the meeting? Of course, there are some things that happen at work that you don't want to be discussing at home. Confidentiality and all of that. But still, I'm with you on that. That I don't want to be asking. So what did you do? Look, I would want you to tell me today was very tiring. Honestly, the traffic was bad, and something happened, and somebody had a birthday, or somebody was leaving today. We had to do.
Yeah,
I want to
exactly.
hear.
Because we we are looking to recharge each other's batteries. Like if
Yes.
I understand my partner is feeling low after work,
Mm.
I should be able to help and ease their attentions. But if I have to go through the extra mile to figure out what is happening, I'll be tired already
You will
before I
be.
can even think of solution.
You will be. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I
Bye for
have one
now.
more if
Yeah, go on.
you're allowed. Okay, and the other one would be, this is very common for everybody
Okay.
because we are all imperfect, and in one way or the other we offend ourselves. But right after every conflict, I don't want to go into the stonewalling situation where there'll be silent treatments or a lot of negative
Oh, I think we lost that. So that may be network issues. But yeah, if you don't mind, you can try back, and then we can continue. But yeah, thank you so much for that. Thanks for sharing that. So it's there, not to be ignored, those red flags. Like I said earlier on, this could be repeated patterns where most of the time you see it, you feel it in that, like inner gut. You kind of know something is just not right. So for some people, it could be people talking too much. Our last caller, his was somebody not communicating. For some people, it could be too much communication. Because some people just don't have, when to stop. They don't know when to stop talking. They just talk. They say everything. There's no break. So it could be, that could mean a red flag for other people. You want to be with your partner, and you want to go out. You want them to be kind of reserved. You want them to know where and what to say at a particular place, or at a particular time. So that could be a warning sign for some other people. And with this kind of things, you want to make sure that you're in a healthy relationship where the most important thing for you is your emotional stability. Before we wrap up, I want you to still send in your comments, your text messages, voice notes. I'm still waiting on that. I still have a couple of minutes to read that. So thank you all for your calls, text messages, voice notes. And remember this: red flags don't turn green with time. They become clearer. I'm going to repeat. Red flags don't turn green with time. They become clearer. This is Real Talk with Mrs. Pham on Cosoro Radio. Take care of yourself and always choose peace. Till I meet you next time, bye for now and God bless you all.